everything floated up into the field.
This video you're about to watch is about our meeting with a grass and soil specialist to help us optimise all things grass and soil on the farm here. A lot of people think you grow a blade of grass, you feed it to an animal, and then you walk away and that's farming. But what you'll see is there is a huge amount of knowledge and expertise, some of which between us we have, but much of which we need advice on. Leo often refers to as the hippie conflict. I'll let you talk about that, Leo.
So we've basically got a hippie, a farmer and a butcher, all with the goal of producing outstanding meat for customers all over the country. The meat we sell at Borough Market, meat we sell online and locally here in Rutland. The world's always evolving with its opinions and facts about what's good and what's bad. We also need to look after the environment while we're doing it. The days of forgetting about the environmental impact of what farmers are doing and just going for optimum output, they're gone, and we need
We achieve a balance.
Yeah, but we achieve a balance, and between the three of us, obviously we're father and two sons, but we all come at it from a different angle. And then Dom in the middle is.
I just want to sell really good meat and keep my customers happy.
And your moustache.
And my moustache trimmed.
In today with Liz, who's an expert in soil science and how to grow grass, but she's also a fresh pair of eyes, so certain things that we might not see because we're surrounded by it every day, she comes at it perhaps from a fourth angle. So we're going to first meet in the staff room and talk through the theory side of things. Then we're going to walk every field on the farm armed with soil samples that we've taken earlier on in the year and actually dig holes all over the place and just assess what the soil's doing, because what a laboratory tells us based on soil samples can be very different to what it's actually doing in real life.
So the other person you'll see around the table is Becca, who is Leo's partner and the mother of my granddaughter, and she's a veterinary surgeon. So we have the inbuilt luxury of our own in-house veterinary expertise, which is incredibly important in everything that we do and that you're about to hear about. The hard thing about grass, like a lot of life, is how do you define what's good? And I agree with you. So if you look at it's quite, in terms of when we go out to have a look, we've got essentially two sections which have been treated quite differently, which I think is potentially brilliant for us trying to assess what has happened this season. Because on the right hand side, looking from here, that would be what quote unquote looks fantastic, especially the bit nearer to us. On the left hand side, it doesn't look amazing, but has also been really, really effective. But then again, this year we've had extraordinary rainfall interspersed with some really good sunshine, so it's almost been perfect. A couple of years ago when we had drought, who knows where we would have been.
And the grass looks better. Becca was just saying about weight gain, so what data do you have on?
We've only weighed twice. So we weighed them before they went out and we've weighed them when they've come in. April to say middle of September, they were pretty much proper grazing, moving every few days, going into a nice bite of grass. Then they've done the strip grazing for a month, and then they've had bales unrolled in front of them and a bit of cake.
And then they came in.
And then they've come in. So I don't know. It would have been interesting to see whether the strip grazing knocked them back or when the grass was actually really long and lush.
The pure white parts fundamentally do better off rougher grazing over a longer time, but it's that time element which is very expensive.
Okay.
The Anguses, you know well what they thrive off, and so we want to maintain a presence, if you like, in both those pure camps, but actually some of the best product retail-wise is the hybrid.
Yeah.
So as we cull them out, I'd rather have one amazing cow than three average ones. Yeah. The average ones are improved by the other genetics that we mix with them in terms of the product. But if we can aspire to a similar quality of white part that we've now got with with Angus and then grow that. I think would.
I make an effort to not buy the same thing every week.
Yeah.
So I had a bit of Wagyu last week. This week, that's a bit of Dexter just coming down from Scotland. I had 3 Hereford crosses last week, so I'm always mixing it up. Always. Wagyu, really good spec Wagyu sells so fast because they've done so much marketing on the name.
Yeah.
But if we had it week in, week out, people have become numb to it.
Yeah.
Whereas our baseline is better beef than most people have ever eaten, and then our really special stuff is exceptional.
I looked at what other people were doing, and they all stop at the point at which they produce something and let someone else tell them how much they're going to sell it for. To me, our farming activity extends down to London.
Yeah.
You can't. How can you produce these, especially with cattle, where, with grain, with all due respect to arable farmers, you're producing something on a cycle, you change it around. I'm not saying it's simple, but the life of that is months to a year. With properly finished animals, you're talking years. And how can you just take it to the proverbial farm gate and then forget about it and let some market or some other person say, well, this is worth X or Y? It's the classic price making versus price taking. And so I see our retailing as every bit an important part of the farming process.
But for me now is moving towards, if I go to lots of farms who declare themselves regenerative, and it's trying to actually how do we monitor it. So it tends to start with soil stuff, which is what the Regenerate Outcomes stuff does well.
Yeah.
But I suppose I'm interested in how much you want to be. It's not just the story, but how much do you want to go into that? In 3 years' time, I want a graph to show me how much my earthworms have increased, or is that what's interesting?
We're not going to be part of someone else's system. We create our own system. We do everything as well as we possibly can, and we stand there under the Northfield banner and attract people to it. The word regenerative is still so vague. Organic has got so many variables, especially when you come into big scale organic.
For me, it starts with the soil, working out what the soil is or isn't doing, and then the grass, everything else goes from that. And the woods is a different debate, but the soil will then help from a water capture perspective and all of that. So it's whether you want to get to the point of, if there's a local ecologist that wants to go and measure streams, there always seems to be someone who wants to do that. So some of this is, if we get the biology working, this solves itself to a certain degree.
Yes.
So this is interesting because we know we're starting with a nice number, like your phosphates are slightly low, but if we've got the right biology going.
Yeah, they look well in themselves. They're not suffering.
Fabulous comments when they know what they're talking about and they buy in the shop.
Yeah.
Comments they leave are incredible about the produce. They absolutely love it. Panels up here, and the same on the other side. What this barn as
It
well.
can be a hell of a lot more labour intensive because you need to move.
Yeah.
Lose the ability to then have an early turnout, which is more cost effective from a growth rate perspective. This is indicating, so that sometimes indicates a low phosphate, which is what you've got.
Yeah.
As does these, but this doesn't. So that's what's interesting.
Yeah, it's a mixture. So do you just call that diversity?
See, that is, if we were going for diversity, but the challenge is nothing really wants to eat that.
Okay.
So then
What is that, did you say?
Buttercup.
That's buttercup. Okay. Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's this accumulation of dead.
Yeah.
So it'll just really slowly grow, and then just there's the leaf, and so it's not. None of this is going to go very seriously wrong. It's just going to be a.
Does it need resetting, like you were saying on the?
Now it's just quite long for sheep. You just have to fend. You have to just keep them on it for longer. If you look down there, that's the clover's right in the bottom and just waiting for an opportunity to get light. And it's because of the thick grass. It just isn't getting that chance.
So the alternative is presumably you put cattle on here and they trample it.
And if you left it, it wouldn't be detrimental to spring next year.
Everything just slowly. And and you can. It is again. It's falling apart.
So it got
It's
more
still
depth
quite good,
with
isn't
the
it?
roots,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
more
a bit
root
deeper,
depth.
yeah.
And their design. It just grows like bilio, but is really reliant on regular rainfall and topping up with nutrients because of this habit. So that, see there's a bit of moss on the surface.
Yeah.
So that's indicating a bit of surface compaction, like surface capping, just there's not enough air getting through. But then you dig further down and it's fine. And the worms, and also I think we forget that because we've had such dry years, all of a sudden the worms are here and we're seeing them again. So it's back to that, another hole in the spring might show a slightly different picture.
Yeah.
So, but we want deeper
Much longer
roots,
ones, yeah.
completely covered in soil. That's like future dreamland.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's good is that it's like having a little microclimate around that root, so it will protect it a little bit from really, really dry conditions. So it's making it a bit more resilient around the root.
That's the thumbnail.
This is what you'd be doing in a field in.
Yeah. Not me. You only came along to buy a steak.
Clay is an old-fashioned pasture, which is like the pastures getting so good that it produces that.
Just gonna kick this. Right, so we've just finished up. What have we learned and what are we going to do differently?
Well, without being too trite, we're on a journey. It started more than 30 years ago, and it carries on through you two growing up, a conventional education, a different approach, and we're always learning. We're always hungry to learn, and that's what we're doing.
The thing I took out of it more than anything is that we need to monitor each individual field. No one field needs the same remedy, if you like, or treatment. So there's certain fields that we've identified that next year don't need fertiliser, a bit of muck if we've got any left, but we'll concentrate on putting the organic nutrients where they're needed the most. And also there's certain things like different grazing methods that we basically need to attack some fields a lot harder to try and encourage the biology to give it a kickstart, which will then help circulate the nutrients. There's other land where I was going to put muck on that actually are in really good fettle and they're fine, so we don't need to do anything with them. So it's just helped get a picture, build a picture in our head for next spring what we need to do and when it needs to be done.
That's good. But what that means, it's not a one-off. This is, Liz will come twice a year, we're looking all the time, we're getting that shovel out and digging bits up all the time and assessing how we're doing.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. Like, share, subscribe,
Ask us questions.
all that other stuff.